June 21st. Readings. Irenaeus of Lyons Against Heresies, Book 2, Chapter 1. There is but one God, the impossibility of its being otherwise the one true God who created all things freely. Let me begin with what matters most. God the Creator, who made heaven and earth and everything in them. These heretics blaspheme by calling him the result of a defect, but I declare, there is nothing above him, nothing that came after him, and no one who compelled him. Out of his own free will he created everything. He alone is God, he alone is Lord, he alone is the Creator, he alone is the Father. He contains all things in himself, and by his own authority he summoned all things into being. If something is beyond God, then God is not God. Tell me, how could there be another fullness, or first principle, or power, or God that exists above him? It's necessary that God, being the fullness of all things, contains everything in his vastness, and is not himself contained by anything. If something exists beyond him, then he doesn't contain all things. That would mean something is missing from him, and a God who lacks something cannot be the fullness. Such a being would have a beginning, a middle, and an end in relation to whatever is beyond him. And if he has an end in relation to things below, then he also has a beginning in relation to things above. In that case, he would be limited, enclosed by things that lie outside him. For whatever marks his end, whatever exists beyond that end, necessarily surrounds and defines him. And anything that encloses another is greater than the thing it encloses. So if God is enclosed, then he is not the greatest. Something else must be greater. And whatever is greater is also stronger and more sovereign. That which is stronger and more sovereign must, by nature, be God. But this contradicts the entire idea of God himself. An infinite chain of powers leads to absurdity. Now these people claim that there is something beyond the fullness, a place where some higher power fell from. If that's true, then either the fullness contains what lies beyond it, which makes no sense, or it doesn't, and is therefore separate from it by an immeasurable distance. But if there is this immeasurable separation, then there must be some third existence in between, separating the two. And if this third thing separates them, then it also contains both of them. That would make it greater than both the fullness and the realm beyond it. Now follow this logic. If this third thing has an upper boundary and a lower one, then it too is enclosed, which means it is surrounded by something else. And that something else would also have boundaries, and so on, endlessly. You would never stop adding levels above and below. You would be chasing layers of being forever, never able to rest in one true God. In trying to go beyond what exists, you would end up chasing what doesn't exist at all, and abandoning the real God entirely. The same argument refutes Marcion's two gods. This same reasoning applies directly to Marcion and his followers. He teaches that there are two gods. But if that's true, those two must be separated by an enormous gap. And if there's such a gap, then something must lie between them. That thing in between would surround and contain them both, meaning it's greater than either of them. And then the same problem repeats. Above that is another, and another above that, and so on. You end up with a limitless number of gods or divine spaces, each beginning and ending in another. By this logic, you'd have to imagine an infinite stack of fullnesses and depths and spiritual oceans, with no end in sight. The mind would be caught in an endless loop, always imagining new gods above or beside the ones already mentioned. Persperker? You wouldn't know if the gods you imagine are truly above or actually below. You wouldn't even know if you're thinking upward or downward. You'd be spinning in circles, with no conclusion, no anchor. Your beliefs would drift endlessly, chasing after countless gods and realms with no grounding in reality. Many gods means no God at all. If things were really this way, then each god would have to stay within his own territory, concerned only with his own creation. None would care about the others. But if one god did interfere with another's realm, he'd be acting unjustly and greedily, and that would make him no god at all. Likewise, each creation would honor only its own maker. But if a creature honored a different god, it would be guilty of rebellion and deserve punishment from the rest. So we're left with two possibilities. Either there is one God who created all things in his own space by his own will, Or there are countless gods, each confined to their own little domain, each beginning and ending in relation to the others. But if that's the case, then all of them are limited, surrounded by something greater. And if they're limited, none of them can truly be God. Each one would be incomplete, lacking what the others have. In that case, the very name Almighty would cease to mean anything. You'd be left with no true God at all. And anyone who believes this kind of system ultimately falls into blasphemy and denies the one who truly is. Augustine Confessions, Book 10, Chapter 26-27, Sections 37-38. God is always present and answers the one who seeks him. So where did I find you, Lord, in order to learn who you are? You weren't in my memory before I knew you, so how could I have found you there? No, I found you in yourself, above me. But even then, it's not a matter of physical place. We move backward and forward, but there is no where when it comes to you. Everywhere, O truth, you guide those who seek counsel from you. You answer everyone at once, even though they bring different questions. You answer clearly, but not everyone hears clearly. Everyone asks you what they want, but they don't always hear what they hoped for. The best servant is not the one who only listens for what he wants to hear, but the one who wants to hear what you truly say. A late burning love for the God who was always near. Too late I loved you. O beauty so ancient yet so new, too late I loved you. You were within me, but I was outside myself, and it was there in the external world that I searched for you. I, so unlovely, rushed headlong into the beautiful things you made. You were with me, but I was not with you. Those created things held me back from you, things that could not even exist unless they were in you. But you called out to me, shouted even, and broke through my deafness. You flashed like lightning, and your brilliance drove away my blindness. You breathed your fragrance, and I drew in my breath. Now I long for you. I tasted you, and now I hunger and thirst. You touched me, and I burned with desire for your peace. Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica, Part 1, Question 85. Article 2, Can our intellect know the infinite? Objection. It seems the human intellect can know the infinite. After all, we can count endlessly and think about things without limits. Doesn't this prove that the mind can grasp the infinite? Responsa. No, our intellect cannot comprehend the infinite in itself. Let me explain. We can think about the idea of something being infinite, like when we say God is infinite, or when we think about numbers continuing forever. But that doesn't mean we understand or comprehend infinity itself. Our intellect knows things by way of forms or images taken from the senses. But every image our senses give us is limited. You've never seen an infinite line. You've only seen lines that are long. You've never touched or measured something infinite. Even when we imagine something going on forever, we're only imagining a process that could go on forever, not something infinite in its very being. That's the key. The human mind works step by step. We understand by distinguishing, measuring, grasping definite characteristics. But infinity has no boundaries, no limit, no edges to grasp. It can't be measured. So we can think about the concept of infinite, but we can't truly know it as it is in itself. This is why we can't fully know God in this life. God is infinite, and our minds are finite. We can speak truly about him, and we can know some things about him, but not exhaustively, not comprehensively. Our knowledge here is always partial, never total. Quick summa. We can think about the idea of the infinite, but we cannot fully comprehend the infinite in itself because our intellect is finite. William and the Endless Shoreline. William stood barefoot at the edge of the sea. The waves slid in and curled around his ankles before pulling back, whispering to him in rhythms too old for any language. He had spent the afternoon walking this beach, watching the horizon stretch endlessly. No starting point, no ending line, just blue. He picked up a seashell, studied its spiral, and wondered how many more were scattered along this shore. Could someone ever count them all? He imagined trying, one shell at a time, day after day, never reaching the last. I can count, he said aloud. I can imagine more numbers. I can imagine endless shells, but I can't ever reach the end. Not really. He looked back at the ocean. He could see it. He could describe it. He could know it in part, but he couldn't fit it inside his mind. Just then, William remembered what he'd once read about God, that he was not just large or old or powerful, but infinite, And now, standing before something immeasurable, he finally understood what it meant to know without ever containing, to behold without mastering. He smiled. "Lord," he whispered, "you are my sea."